Every movie has random trivia. And here at Trivial Theater, I explore some of these movies and the random circumstances that make them the weird creations that we love. This week's movie isn't so much influenced by Star Wars as it seems to be a ripoff of Star Wars. This is 1979's Starcrash. We start with a Star Wars inspired shot, which ends up being more Spaceballs in its approach. Okay, so this ship is so uniform in color, it kinda scares me. And despite being named after an early sci-fi writer and special effects pioneer, I can't say Murray Leinster is a name that's gonna strike fear in the hearts of most enemy fleets. If there is one thing that defines this movie, it's wedgies. The costume designer must have really had a thing for them because every uniform looks really damn uncomfortable. This crew member goes about his normal routine, giving us a shot that is totally justified for being this long, when his ship is attacked by a lava lamp effect. As the rest of the crew is driven to madness, a few launches manage to get away, and you clearly can't see the stick lifting them off the ship itself. This is followed up by a quality explosion that takes out the planet and the surrounding stars. We're finally introduced to our main characters, Stella Star and Acton, who fly around in a giant triangle, expositing about space phenomenon.
Look, a neutron star!
If it gets a hold on us, it'll crush us.
I really feel like Neil deGrasse Tyson should be explaining this instead of the movie's main characters. We're given the odds in a way that is no way reminiscent of Star Wars.
What's our chances?
40% total disintegration, 30% molecular ignition, 20% gamma contamination.
You're very reassuring. I assume that means we have a 10% chance of making it.
Not really. 3% structural collapse, 2%.
All right, all right.
And then made aware of an adrift spaceship. In space. Stella explores the abandoned ship and shows us a spacesuit style that never really caught on. And frankly, I'm a little saddened by that. In the meantime, we meet our big bad, a guy who you would never expect to be evil. But, good or bad, he rocks a pretty awesome cape. He exposits, not for the first time, his plan to take over the galaxy using his giant hand-shaped fortress. Stella and Acton are captured by Space Police Thor and his robot officer Elle. And what the fuck is that? Anyway, they're sentenced to what feels like overkill.
220 years hard labor.
Stella's prison getup doesn't quite match the rest of the prisoners, but she manages to escape, blowing up the work camp in the process. She's met by Thor and Elle again, and there's a line in this course of conversation that either predicts a Star Wars sequel trilogy,
You can drop the rifle, Ray.
or is just him getting his space saga heroines mixed up. We finally get to the heart of our story, delivered in an agonizingly slow way by Christopher Plummer, in what can only be described as the equivalent of an opening Star Wars crawl.
Our galaxy is split into two warring factions. Our own, and the one ruled by the evil Count Zarzan from the League of the Dark Worlds. Recently begun to receive troublesome reports from our spies among the League. They have informed us that the Count has created a weapon. A new, limitless weapon. A weapon so vast, so huge, that it would take a whole planet to conceal it. That is why we sent the mission ship.
After we learn that a lot of things make Elle nervous,
Every time I go into hyperspace, I get nervous. What makes me so nervous? Why should I be nervous? There is nothing to be afraid of around here.
we find our heroes chasing down a lead that takes them to the Amazons, minus Wonder Woman. We've jumped from Star Wars to the DCEU apparently. So on a side note, I feel really bad for these horses. I feel like they're gonna need therapy after being forced to wear those masks. Elsewhere, Stella is captured, but I'm happy to say that she changes from high-heeled boots to more practical ones before kicking ass. Stella and Elle escape, only to be tracked by a giant robot. And part of me feels like I should cover her chest, you know, in the off chance there's a young, impressionable bot in the audience. After a seamless blending of live action and stop motion, we learn, out of nowhere, that Acton is a Starcrash equivalent of a Force user who can see the future. Unfortunately, he can't see the sucker punch. On the next planet, our intrepid duo are attacked by cavemen, and we get a shot that makes me thankful that they were wearing underpants. Luckily, Stella is cool with just hanging out with her Neanderthal buddies who aren't lacking in fires. David Hasselhoff, in a gold foil helmet, breaks up the party and saves Stella, who in turn is saved by Acton with a weapon that is clearly designed for this movie. They find they're on the evil dude's planet and proceed to take out his super weapon. The next scene features a series of Wedgie-inspired outfits, some fabulous eyebrows, and a really quality evil laugh. It also leads to the death of Acton, after an intense duel. We come to the final battle, which features a minute 20 segment of the same three ships being launched. Not to mention human-filled missiles which defy the laws of space while crashing through evil dudes' glass windows. I gotta hand it to the model makers on this one, they fingernailed it. The evil fortress packs a punch. I can't quite put my finger on it, but they could have gotten out of hand with that look. Honestly, this whole joke feels a little ham-fisted, but I'm still waiting for Han Solo's ship to show up. Anyway, evil dude's continual yelling of
Kill! Kill!
pushes his forces to victory, and the only way to finish off the big bad is to crash this colorful floating city into the hand-shaped fortress by performing
Starcrash.
After a cringy fist bump, they proceed at surprisingly safe speeds towards the hand fortress, blowing it to Kingdom Come. Right before impact, Stella and Elle perform another stunt that sort of predicts an epic moment in the Star Wars sequels. We're left with Christopher Plummer giving us an epilogue/hint of a sequel, which came out in 1981. Incidentally, he was paid $10,000 a day to be part of a movie with a budget of $4 million. Most of his shots were done in a day, so that's good. I learned quite a lot from Starcrash. Pink interior lighting is frankly underused in modern aerospace. The spaceship designs in this movie go to show you that aerodynamics don't mean dick in outer space. And apparently, mystical healing abilities can take you from this to this. So the amount of exactly the same yet completely different wardrobe changes that Stella goes through over the course of this movie make me chuckle a little. My personal fave is her transition from this outfit to this one as she prepares to go on their first planetside mission. One of the things that feels just a little lazy in this movie is the writing of Acton's character and his powers. Now this is probably a point of semantics, but he basically covers whatever plot convenience is required by his mere presence. You need someone to save the day? Boom, Acton shows up with a knockoff lightsaber. You need to explain Stella being unfrozen? Boom, Acton's got healing powers. You need to give a reason for a sexy, glorious head of curly hair? Boom, Acton's rocking it. The amount of weird pauses in this movie makes me wonder if they were stretching for time, or if that's what was intended. There are places where it feels like it fits, for instance when Christopher Plummer gives his various speeches, but there are other places where it just feels really awkward. Now, there are a few unmentioned love stories in this movie, firstly between Acton and the ship's computer brain thingy, and then there's this touching moment between Stella and Elle. In my opinion, both of these are more real than anything this movie attempts to put out there in terms of actual relationships. I've made a lot of allusions to Star Wars in my review, and you don't have to look far to see the similarities. But according to an interview given by director Luigi Cozzi, he says that the designs of the picture and the script itself were developed before the release of Star Wars in 1977. Other reports state the producers approached Cozzi asking him to make a space opera similar to Star Wars, and he based it off the film's novelization. Starcrash is counted amongst great cult classics, like Troll 2, and was even listed by Rolling Stone as one of the 50 great sci-fi movies of the 1970s. I really enjoyed the easygoing schlock of this movie. It is simply what it is, a fun, crazy 70s trip to space, and it's definitely worth seeking out. So what do you think? Suggestions for movies, trivial questions, comments, ratings, and an understanding as to why there was so much wedgie-inducing clothing in this movie would be appreciated. Thank you so very much for watching.